Hi, and welcome back to the Sheepish Magpie. It's been a really long time since I've done an update, and that's because a lot has been happening. So I appreciate you joining in and coming back and seeing me. And if this is your first time spending some time with me, I really appreciate you checking me out. So wow, it's March. It's mid-March. The weather is starting to change a little bit. We get a few little hints of the weather being nicer, a few little blasts of cold, icy winter. But I'm really looking forward to spring and all that promises to bring. The last, I think it's been about 5 weeks since I did a video, and so I've got so much to show you, so this is going to be a little bit of a longer video. So first of all, we went to our huge mega trip and came back earlier this week. Things are starting to get back into a routine. I've been back on call for several days, and starting to unpack and get the house back in order. One of the funny things was when I came home, I noticed all the things in the house that needed to be done, you know, kind of looking at something with fresh eyes, and I was like, oh, that carpet is getting really dingy, and oh, I really want to replace the wallpaper. And we had a few like minor calamities around the house happen right when we got back. Our fridge stopped working. One of our toilets, the water inflow to the toilet broke, spraying water absolutely everywhere down the next floor. It was that kind of week back from vacation where it's like, oh, I want to be back. And you notice all the little bits of clutter and so many of the things that you like to do, as opposed to staying in a nice hotel room or a nice cruise cabin and no clutter and somebody to make up your bed every night. So now I'm back to reality, and I don't think that we'll be having another vacation for over a year. So I'm going to relive some of those moments in my memory, and that'll have to do for now. Of course, traveling with kids is always tough, and so there's lots of really fun moments, but also lots of little stressful moments too. And so it's kind of nice to be back into a routine of sorts and have some downtime and quiet time, but we also have to make our own meals. So my body is enjoying back to real food as opposed to vacation food. But you know, it was nice to not have to cook and have kind of a wide variety of foods in front of us. So I wanted to show you some of the projects that I brought on the trip. I wanted to show you some of the squishy mail that came since we've been away. I wanted to show you some of the finished objects that I finished before we went away and didn't get a chance to tell you about. And I want to tell you about running. So I'm going to describe our trip a little bit because it was really quite the mega trip. So we left on Wednesday and flew down to Orlando and stayed at Disney World until Sunday. We stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is so beautiful, and we had a 2-bedroom suite. Now, we are members of Disney Vacation Club, so we used points, which saved us so much money. But we had a 2-bedroom suite and had a full kitchen, which really helped keep the costs down because we were able to order groceries in and do a lot of the meals in the room. And because Disney buffet prices are so expensive, I mean, it was like $300 US for us to take the family out for breakfast plus. So that was not doable. So we ate in the room a lot. So we had a 2-bedroom suite, and we checked in and hit the parks on our first day, and then the second day we ended up going to the running expo to pick up our bibs, and we kind of did a park a day from there on. So it was a lot of fun. We ended up starting at Hollywood Studios, which is the park we don't normally start at. We usually start at Magic Kingdom. I like to start my vacation with, you know, kind of our favorite park, but this time Hollywood Studios didn't have as much to offer us on this trip, so we decided that that would be kind of our half-day park when we arrived. We picked up our bibs for the 5, the 10, and the half marathon on Thursday, and then that day we went to Animal Kingdom and had a really nice day there. The weather was great, actually quite hot, and that made the running a little bit difficult. So 3 a.m. on Thursday morning, Alden, Allegra, Ophelia, Adam, and I got up and left the littles in the room with Devin, my kid, who came along very last minute. And we got out and did our 5K, and that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of pictures. It went really well, and it was just really fun to be back running at a Disney event. The 10K, only Allegra, Ophelia, Adam and I did it, and it was so hot. There was heat warnings absolutely everywhere. So we were really, really slow. I think it was my slowest 10K ever, and we just decided to have fun with it and to not stress ourselves out. We were on vacation. But during that race, it really became apparent that the half marathon was probably going to be a no-go for a number of reasons. One, the kids were not super happy being left in the room with Devin. Originally, we had different plans for who was going to watch the little kids, but that didn't work out. And so Devin did his best to look after the kids, but it didn't really go very well. And by the time we got back, the kids were pretty upset. And at the half marathon, we would have been away even longer. And so regretfully, we had to let it go. Also, Adam's foot was really bothering him, and had everything else been really perfect, we probably would have pushed through. But with his foot really hurting and the childcare situation being dicey, and the fact that it was so hot, and my training really didn't go particularly well this year, we just decided that it wasn't in the best interest. Also, I was leaving the kids to do a lot of getting kind of everything packed up on Sunday morning before the cruise. And just for a variety of reasons, we ended up not starting. So that was disappointing because it was something I was really looking forward to. But in the end, it was the best decision, and we just kind of moved on. So Sunday, we just had a kind of relaxing day of packing up, and packing up 8 people is no joke. Adam's great and the kids were great, but there's still the organizer in the family, who's me, who kind of has to do all the odds and ends and make everything fit. And we ended up getting like 2 giant shopping tote bags to bring with us on the cruise of just the detritus that didn't fit in suitcases. And my son by accident brought his winter coat and boots. He wore them to the airport, and we didn't notice until we were checking in. I was like, oh my gosh. And of course, he's like 11, so his feet are giant. So the boots were huge and clunky, and the coat was really bulky. And so that was like almost a third of a suitcase all on its own. But it was too late by the time we got to check in to take them back to the car. So we didn't. We carried them with us. He was pretty happy, probably the happiest of all of us when we landed, and he had warm winter gear, but it was kind of a pain to carry around, pack and unpack 3 times. So yeah, we got to the ship, and we had a private transport because it was cheaper than Disney, and I kind of wanted to control when we were going to be picked up versus last time we used Disney from the hotel to the port. They didn't pick us up till 2 o'clock, which felt so late. We felt like we were kind of the last people on the boat, and we wanted to get there a few hours earlier. So this time we got them to pick us up at 11:30, which was perfect. Our transportation was awesome. And I think we used Happy Limo. They were great. Our driver was terrific. She was really friendly, very professional. She was nicely dressed. The van was really nice. And it fit all 8 of us. We could have had a couple of friends join us. I think it was a 10-passenger van plus cargo. That worked out really well. We got on the ship. Our rooms were ready, which was a great surprise. And our vacation started. The next day we ran the 5K on Castaway Cay. It was really hot, and then it rained, and it was actually quite pleasant. It was like tropical rain, and we were laughing and having a really good time despite the squelching of our sneakers as we walked back. But it was really fun, and it was nice to kind of have completed that race. And and we spent the next couple days on the cruise ship. Our first stop after Castaway Cay in the Bahamas was Grand Cayman. And Alden, Devin, and I went snorkeling. Adam and his girls decided that they didn't really want to snorkel. I don't get it. It was beautiful. It was amazing. We snorkeled over a shipwreck in the reef and the reef, pardon me. And the water was so clear. It looked unbelievably blue, like crazy, like dyed. It didn't look like it could exist in nature to be that clear and that blue. It looked like diluted jello. So that was a lot of fun. And as we were coming up to the dock, we saw these giant fish that almost looked like sharks and jellyfish, and it was really cool. Olin and I both got stung, which was painful. I kind of likened it to cooking bacon and getting a really good zing from the bacon fat, but lasts a little longer. But it was still an amazing experience to snorkel in those crystal clear waters and over a shipwreck from the 20s, I believe it was. So that was really cool. And then we had a couple more sea days, and we went through stopped off in Colombia right before we went through the Panama Canal. And the city there that we stopped in was Cartagena. And Devin and I did a jewelry making tour where we went to a factory and made silver jewelry out of wire and emeralds. And these weren't the crystal clear kind of gem emeralds. They looked a lot more like agate or other kinds of rock, a little really pretty, and the jewelry was really neat. We learned some new techniques of making kind of S-curves, and part of the tour was that you could keep some of what you made and you could buy some of the other pieces if you liked it. So I kept a ring and a bracelet, and Devin kept a bracelet and a pendant. So that was really cool. And it was really neat to go through the city and to see Cartagena. We didn't stop off anywhere else other than at this one museum, but it was really fun. Then we went through the Panama Canal, which was super cool. We had great weather and it was really, really interesting. And then we had 2 ports in Mexico that were Puerto Vallarta and Cabo San Lucas. So in Cabo San Lucas, just Devin and I got off the ship. Nobody else wanted to get off. I don't know what their problem was, but we got off the ship and basically just looked like tourists in the tourist area, did some shopping and looked around, got a really cool basket that I think is going to be a new knitting basket for beside my bed. And like a traditional Mexican woven plastic basket is really pretty. And I bought a hat. I look terrible in hats, but I found one hat that I think was passable. And then in Puerto Vallarta, Alden and I did a Mexican cooking class. So we went to this ranch about an hour away from the port that was absolutely beautiful, and we cooked a bunch of vegetarian Mexican food and homemade tortillas, and then they had a surprise tequila tasting, which I really liked. And yes, a bottle of tequila came home with me, so when I'm off call, I'm going to sample my Anejo tequila. And then we had 5 sea days, which were absolutely great. Or maybe we had the sea days before Mexico. In all, it was a 14-night cruise, 15 days, so lots of relaxation, lots of swimming, lots of laying out in the sun, and lots of knitting time. So the projects that I brought definitely were well appreciated. There's like a little coffee shop called Cove Cafe. I met a lovely fellow knitter, some other fellow crafters, but I met a really nice friend named Shelley, and we met several times just knitting and chatting each other's ears off, and that was really pleasant. So we've stayed in touch. And then when we got off the boat, we disembarked in San Diego and did another private shuttle. This time it was a little bit more skeevy, but we did a cheap private shuttle to Disneyland and stayed at the Grand Californian, where we also have Disney vacation points. And we stayed in another 2-bedroom suite and stayed just for a few days and came home on Wednesday. On Monday, my daughter fell and got a nursemaid's elbow injury that required us going into a merge for 10 hours and getting the reduction, the special movement and stuff that they do. And then she needed a cast, like a splint cast, because she still wasn't able to move her arm. And so that was on Monday. Disney was absolutely great. We talked to them afterwards. They had sent a nurse up when it happened, like after it happened, when we got back to the hotel, free of charge. She kind of advised us on what to do and where to go, because we were totally unfamiliar with what hospitals were in the neighborhood. And the next day, the Disney folks sent up a plate of milk and cookies, wishing Genevieve, well, which was like super sweet. It was from the cafe in the hotel. The staff there, she heard me talking and said, "Oh, when did that happen?" I said, "Just yesterday." And so they sent up this really nice plate of milk and cookies, which was really sweet. And then they also converted our passes into park hoppers so that the kids could go back and finish some of the rides that they weren't able to finish when Jen had her accident. So that was really terrific of them and a really nice surprise, and something they totally didn't have to do, but really helped salvage the trip, because we had just decided to go to one park a day, and we would not have been able to go back to California Adventure, and the cost to upgrade was so exorbitant that it wasn't really in the budget at that point. So yeah, then we came home late on Wednesday. I came on call 12 hours later. Our toilet sprayed everywhere, an inch of water in the bathroom. Our fridge broke. We went unpacking, but other than that, things are really good. So that was our trip. It was a huge, amazing trip, And I'm so glad that we got an opportunity to do it. I feel so privileged. We are so fortunate to be able to do these grand, amazing adventures. And so now our focus is on saving up for the next one, which is in about a year and a half. And we are going to Hawaii and doing a cruise back from Hawaii. And I don't think we're going to tack anything else on. I've learned on this trip that maybe less is more, that sometimes too much packing and unpacking and too many things to do can just feel a little bit hectic for the organizer. And that I think next time we'll just kind of pick one or two things, not the three things, and be there. 3 weeks was also a really long time to be away, and we were away 3 weeks in a day, and so I think 2 weeks is kind of the sweet spot of where it feels like you've been away for a long time, and that, you know, a couple of days into the vacation you're not already halfway done, but enough, but you get home before you're really ready to get home. So without further ado, I want to show you I'm going to get back to knitting and knit crafts. I want to show you some of the things that I've been working on. So as you remember, I was really working on Jen's sweater to get it done for her birthday, and I did. And this is her finished sweater. And so it's absolutely gorgeous. The pattern is called Henley. It's in my Ravelry, and this was sitting in her drawer, so it was all nicely blocked. But now it's been worn a couple times. So it's got amazing drape. It's got a lot of alpaca, and you can see I put the cute little kitty cat buttons on it for her. She was really fond of that. So this yarn was really lovely. It has like next to no stretch while you're knitting it, but it knit up beautifully, and those cables just absolutely popped. And originally I was going to do the sleeves in just a plainer fabric. I think I just wanted to get it done, but I'm really pleased that how they turned out with doing those little cables on it. So really happy with that. The sweater has some really good heft to it, and it's gorgeous and shiny, and it turned out to be a little bit bigger than I anticipated, which is terrific because I think it's going to fit her next year as well. So I'm trying to make it look so that the front, but there you go. So it's got that nice Henley collar on it. So that was done. Super happy with that, and it's really, really soft. The other thing that I finally got done were my socks, and here they are, all blocked and lovely. I love this color. I can't wait to take them off and wear them more. I've had them on the sock blockers so that I can show them off to you, but now I can take them off and actually start wearing them. I really recommend this pattern. Super fun, great for this kind of yarn that didn't need a lot of adorning. The cables really show up. This little detail here really shows up, and I think they are so wearable. So I'm really looking forward to wearing that. So I did bring a number of projects onto the cruise to work on. The first one was a shawl that I started on my last cruise, and so it kind of became my cruise shawl. And this is, one of the more popular ones that is going around right now. And the name escapes me for a second. Sorry, pardon me. A funny story with this though is that I only brought part of the instructions. So there's like 6 clues, and I brought 1 and 2. So yeah, I had clue 1 done the first cruise, so I could only get clue 2 done, but it actually turned out okay. That's probably all I would have gotten done, but I was still a bit bummed to find out. And I'm like, okay, do I really want to waste Wi-Fi on downloading the pattern, because the Wi-Fi on the ship is so expensive? But in the end, I got done clue number 2, and this is the Crown Wools knit along, and that's the section that I did on this cruise. So it's a really nice little stitch with just a couple SSKs and yarn overs and knit 2 togethers. And so it's this beautiful dark kind of terracotta color. And this was the part that I did on the first cruise. So I don't know what the next section is, and it's developing kind of into that nice slant. So yeah, happy with that. The next color that I started on is a lighter version of the terracotta, and then it moves into some kind of peachy beiges, and then some taupes, and then eventually a really interesting shade of taupey brown. So I think it's going to be very wearable with just the 3 warmer kind of colors, and then fading into much more neutrals. So that was one project. The other project that I brought was my new Abby Grasso socks. So this was my mixed tape, and I wouldn't say that this is relaxed knitting. I remember why it took a little while last time to want to pick it up again, because She recommends needles that are size 2, and I can't make this work on size 2 needles all that easily. Those are 2.75s, and the 1.5s, the 2.5 millimeter needles, I can't really get it to work either. I wish there was kind of something in between. So I've been experimenting and figuring it out. But I got 2 of the pattern repeats done, and they are shifting a little bit, which is what I mean to say, like, I can't totally get them done. And I'm such a perfectionist that I don't love it, but I'm going to try to block them out a little bit. So the first one was my cactuses, which I recommend. To see how they shift, but I think when I block it, I'll be able to work on it a little bit. And see, just looking at it now, it bothers me, but I think I'm going to have to let it go and just do my best. And some of them shifted a little bit more than others, and others are a little straighter. So here's let me see. I remember last time when I blocked it, I could maneuver it a little bit. So those are cacti, and then this next one is toadstools. So I think the issue when it gets moved forward is that those stitches should be a little bit further back. So I'm doing it a little bit too tightly. And so I've moved on to the 2.75 needles and hoping to correct that. But I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to it. I'm kind of bothered, like looking at it now, I'm like, oh, do I just want to take it out and start again? Or is this good enough? Or do I just go with the flow of having the little bit of slant to the pattern? I'm not sure. I haven't decided. I put them away after a little while because I was doing a fair amount of picking out and picking, but I love the pattern so much, and I love the end result so much that I probably will put the time into figuring it out and getting the best possible tension. But I may have to go up to a little bit larger needle and see if that solves my problem. So that was one project that I brought. So I got the cuff and I got 2 of the pattern repeats, and I think that I'll probably end up doing 3 pattern repeats on the cuff and then move on to the foot. And I don't know if I'm going to do patterns on the foot or if I'm going to just save the yarn for other things. I'm not sure. Then the third project that I brought was a cute little sweater called, and it's a Pearl Soho pattern called Easy Pullover for babies, toddlers, and kids. And it's in this yummy, yummy yarn. This yarn is Baby Cashmerino Tonals by Debbie Bliss. And it's in this gorgeous, it's really not as orange as it's kind of flashing out to be. It's quite orange, but it's a little bit more muted. But here in the light, it looks really, really bright. It's lovely. It's got some peachy oranges to it. So this is a sweater for the girls. This was the funniest pattern because I could not get gauge. I tried it on the needle and I didn't care too much. I thought, oh, it's coming out a little bit big, but that's okay. I'll do a little bit of the smaller size and it'll just be a little bit big, and that works out okay. But I was way over. It was way larger than it was supposed to be, like a third larger for a sweater, which is a pretty big deal. So I ended up going back, and I didn't have any other needles to bring with me. So I ended up casting on the stitches for the smallest size, which is supposed to be 6 to 12 months, but it's actually measuring for the size 4. I've never had that problem before where things were so off. So I don't know if whoever did it, whoever made the pattern just knits really tightly, but you know, when I look at the fabric, my fabric seems nice. It doesn't seem overly, like, it's not really floppy or soft. I don't know how, yeah. And I didn't do a gauge swatch. If I did, then it would have worked out okay, but I rarely do gauge swatches for my little kid stuff because I usually go a little bit bigger and know that if I end up being a little on the small side, it'll fit them now. And if it's a little bit bigger, I'll put it away for a year. But this one was crazy big. It was supposed to be 26-inch circumference, and it was going to be something like 34. It was like really out. It was like giant. I probably could have stretched it over my body. So anyways, I took that all out and knit it. So now I'm this is knit from this is the back up heading to the shoulders. These are the beginning of the sleeves, and I've got another few inches to do, and then some other shaping. So it's really interesting way to knit a sweater. And then you knit it up and over, and when you're done, you just seam up the side seams and underneath the sleeves. So it's kind of cool. And it was a really easy pattern because a lot of it was just mindless stockinette. So it was perfect to do in the cafe, and when I just wanted a simple project or that the light was dying and I couldn't see as well. That was actually a problem for me on the cruise, was that at nighttime many of the areas were so kind of just low social lighting as opposed to like kind of bright workspace lighting. So Shelley, whom I met on the cruise, told me that she carries around like a little neck aught light, and that would have worked out really well, but I didn't have one. So I had to either knit in my room at nighttime where I could have the side light on, or find a brighter spot in the cafe, but it wasn't outside on the deck. So I'm going to plan for that. The fourth project that I did, I actually finished, and this was a totally new kind of project for me with a new skill. So I may have mentioned before that I don't actually like learning new skills very much. I find it frustrating, but I thought this is a perfect time to learn it. And so what I learned was Tunisian crochet. So this was a bag. It was a little box of crochet from last November, I think, and it is Tunisian entrelac crochet. So you can use a regular crochet needle because you're only putting on, I think it was 6 stitches on the needle before pulling them off again, as opposed to needing the bigger ones. And I have to say, I absolutely adore how this came out. Now the picture made it look slightly bigger, so I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for. I guess it's kind of almost wallet sized, but I absolutely adore it. I love rainbow anything. Came with a nice little red zipper to sew in, and I did sew it in pretty decently, I think. And then you could make a tassel with your choice of color, and it kind of came with this little loop. So I did crochet this over a couple times because I just took things out as I was learning. And I have to say, of all the little box of crochet patterns, this one was one that wasn't as well written. It had a few typos in it. They're usually like amazing, but I don't think that this was written by one of the people who normally write them. It's a new person. And so as things were developing, I thought, oh, that's not right, and I'd go back and do it. And luckily I did have a little bit of internet to Google a few things, but didn't that turn out amazing? I totally love it. And it was really addictive to make each of these little squares because they didn't take very long, and and the way that you knit it was this way. So you do a whole row of each of the color, and so one session of knitting I could easily get crocheting, I could easily get 1 or sometimes even 2 of the color rows done, and so it whipped up really quickly, and it was really fun. I got a lot of compliments on this as people would walk by and go, "What are you making?" And I'd show them, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great." But one of the things I love about the little box of crochet is how contemporary many of their boxes are. You know, like my kids were pretty interested in this. It wasn't kind of your granny's crocheting, which there's nothing wrong with, but I really like that about them, that some of their designs are quite fresh. So that was the fourth thing, and I actually started and finished it on the cruise, so I was pretty proud. While I was away, I did get quite a bit of squishy mail. I don't need yarn, but it seems to still come, probably because I still order it and pay for it, and it comes. So the first thing that I got was Biscot's monthly yarn club, and this gorgeous purple blue. A couple people online and I were talking, we can't quite decide if it's blue or purple. Against blue it looks purple, and against purple it looks blue, but isn't that amazing? It just glows. Such a great color. I'm pretty sure it's a deep vibrant purple, like almost an indigo, and I really love it. I think it's going to be making amazing socks, and I love their Bissock. I have to say, Biscot yarn Bissock is just amazing. It's so soft, it's so squishy, and it's just got it's 85% superwash and 15% nylon. It doesn't feel like it has any nylon at all. It almost feels cashmere. It's so soft, it's lovely to work with, and so I totally recommend it, and it's not particularly expensive. I also got 2 little box of crochets while I was away, and the first one, I think I got this one just before I left, so I got it in mid-February. Oops, sorry, just let me readjust that. I got it just before I went away, and this project is a little scarf. So this is the January project, so it's a really long phases of the moon scarf, and they are done in almost like kind of granny squares that then get added, and there's a picture of someone modeling it, so it's kind of like a skinny scarf. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know who it's for, and I don't know that I'd get any use out of it. Not my style. I only really use scarves for warmth, but I like it, and maybe I might end up making another bag or something out of it rather than a skinny scarf. But again, really cool. And that month's box came with a postcard. It came with, this is eye mask in the relaxation kind of theme. It came with a stitch marker with a little jewel in it, and I don't even know what's in here. I just didn't get a chance to open it all up before I left. This bag. Oh, it's like a little, a crystal. I remember from looking. This is like a little glass pendant. So it's like a little globe, which is really cool. And I guess you can make like a little cord to go with that. And then here are the yarns for the crochet project. So in purples and blacks. So I really like that box. I think that was another win. Again, something a little bit fresh, a little bit contemporary. I think, you know, even if you had a younger person getting these boxes, that they would like that one again, and maybe that's who I'll end up knitting it for. Then the other little box of crochet that came was the February box, which makes this little heart. I don't know if it's a pomander, like if you can stuff it with scent, or if it's meant to just be like a pin cushion. I think it's a pin cushion, and it came with another little postcard, and it came with what I call clothes plasters. They are patches that you can iron on, and it also came with a little heated heating pad with a little box of crochet emblem on it, and again another stitch marker, this one heart-shaped for Valentine's, and then here is the yarn to make your pin cushion. So another great box, really nice. I like how it was themed around Valentine's Day, and that's one that I would make up and use. So that was the subscription yarn email that I got, but then before I went, I also ordered some yarn. So in the previous episode, or one of the previous episodes, I talked about being frustrated that I wanted to do the pattern tartan, that sweater that is kind of a crossover, and it needed 3 different types of yarn, and I really couldn't find what I was looking for. But then Madeline Tosh had a sale, and I found the yarn that I wanted to do it in. So I'm really excited, and this one is called T'Challa, and it's a really great dark charcoal black with gray. And then this one is called Smokestack Optic. Ignore the purple, there's no purple in it, that's just the string holding it. And so it's a gray with black flecks, really sooty. And this one is called Soot, and it's a cream with the black and gray speckles. So that's what my sweater is going to be made out of. And this one actually doesn't have any pink. It looks like it in the camera just because the yarn that they've put together, they've put the skein together with is pink, and you can see that. But those are going to be the two, and I can't wait, because I think the sweater is going to be so wearable. You know, I have a lot of black in my wardrobe, or gray, and I can imagine wearing it with yoga pants or leggings or pants, and being a really great sweater to wear over a black or a white t-shirt. So I'm looking forward to that, and I don't know if that's going to get knocked up into my queue. I looked at the pattern for that, and I'm a bit worried that it's not the most written out explained pattern, but I'm going to try to muddle through it. Then the last thing that I got while I was away was an order from Gauge Dye Works. So this was the colorway of their club for last month, and I totally fell in love with it, but the club is sold out, and so is the yarn. But the yarn mistress at Gauge had a couple skeins that weren't good enough for the club to be sent out. They were seconds. She showed me the kind of flaws in them, and I was just, I'm going to make a sweater for the girls out of it anyway. And so a few little slubby pieces of yarn, which is what it ended up being. They weren't knots. They were more like just pieces of yarn. I'll see if I can find one where the twist isn't set right or something like that. And I thought, you know what, I can work around those. There's one right there. I can work around them, and it was a very fair price, and I just really love the colorway, so I went with it. And the other thing that I got, she had just stocked her shop, was the Whiskey in a Teacup kid sweater. This makes a size 2 to 4, and it's really cool. So it's going to mostly be gray, like you knit it from the yoke, the collar and yoke down, and that's where all the stripes are, and then you have the body in gray. So that's pretty cool. That's another project. My kids better wear these hand knit sweaters that I'm making them in this kind of pullover style. The last thing is a I got a kit to make socks in the sax point. It's a really cool pattern. You can look it up on Ravelry. The top cuff has a little bit of color work with a really nice flower in it, and then you move down into the body of the sock, and the heel and toes are a different color. And this yarn is absolutely genius. And what makes it really different is that you actually put it in 3 different balls. So you start by winding up the red, which is going to be for the part of the color work and the heels and the toes. Then you stop and you do a smaller ball of this buff kind of color that does some of the color work in the flowers. And then you wind up the bigger portion of the ball, which is this gorgeous stripe. And it makes a really amazing stripe that's blues and grays and kind of browns. And, you know, in the skein, it doesn't look like much, but in the pattern, oh my goodness, it is absolutely gorgeous. So I think I'm going to cast those on pretty soon because I need a pair of socks on the go, and I can't really do the Abby Grasso Creative Yarn socks as an easy to knit kind of sock pattern to throw in my purse because it needs a little bit of fiddling. That's one where I feel like to want to sit down and really tackle something like cross-stitchy. That's kind of how it feels knitting with that yarn. So I'm really excited, and I think the concept is really cool that you're getting 3 different balls of yarn in one skein that you then ball up and use that way. So yeah, so that was kind of what came in the mail. I don't expect anything else in the mail, but I think I said that last time, other than the monthly subscriptions. I'm considering letting the Biscuit Club go, as I have a lot of sock yarn right now, but I also get a big sense of FOMO, of fear of missing out, so I'm not sure if I'm going to let it go. It's not a very expensive one, but yeah, I'm going to think about that one. I've had it for a little while, so I may take a little bit of a break and start to knit up some of those things. My dream is to get a sock machine, and I can whip up a whole bunch of pairs of socks from the yarn behind me and get more caught up. But that's a little bit of a pipe dream at this point, as they are the ones that I'm looking at are quite pricey. I have some of the automatic machines. I don't know if you can see one in the corner up here, the Addy Turbo and the Addy Express, but they don't really work to make socks. So I actually want a proper sock machine. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. I don't think that I have anything else to talk about. I have talked and talked and talked. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about my vacation. I hope you liked seeing my finished objects and the squishy mail that came in the mail for me. And right now it's a little bit busy at work and I haven't been able to knit as much. I've been mostly working on the girls, the orangey kind of pullover that I showed you, but I think I'm going to put that aside for a little bit and work on my Find Your Fade sweater because I just have a little bit of the sleeve and the collar to do and I'd really like to get it done. So let's see what I get done. I'm not sure when I'm going to do my next video, probably within 2 weeks, and try to get back on schedule again. The vacation really messed that up, but I hope you understand. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd love to see some comments below. Let me know what's working for you, anything else you'd like to see, and I will be happy to do my best to accommodate. I hope you are well. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.